everybody, and welcome to the Maurice Brown Comedy Show NFL edition with my main man, hip-hop artist, Antoine A.S. Stewart. What's up, Stu?
What's going on, Mo?
Good to see you, man. We had a lot of wild action in the NFL over the weekend. I can tell you that right now. A lot of wild action. And some of that action included you boys, the San Francisco 49ers, going down to Tampa Bay, winning, but not in the fashion we expected them to. What are your thoughts on that ball game and that matchup?
Yeah, man. That was a great game. Fortunately, we had some issues with special teams. Our kicker missed 3 field goals in a row, which is huge. That's 9 points. We had a muff punt return, and gave them the ball right back. Those are some big ones, but we were able to find a way to get it done, and that's what it takes in this league. It's not always going to be pretty. Sometimes you're going to have those shaky games where things aren't happening your way, but you got to find a way to get it done, as the Chiefs have done this whole entire season. And we were able to do that. So I'm happy with the win. Definitely, hopefully our kicker it gets better. I know he was just coming off of injury. I don't know if he's really 100%. But it definitely was concerning, especially thinking about the postseason and the playoffs and stuff like that. They got to figure that out and get that together. But a win is a win.
A win is a win. There's no question about that. We'll take the W's all day long. You're listening to them and watching the Maurice Brown Comedy Show on BogRadio.fm. Missing nephew Caleb Lopes. Hopefully he'll be joining us later, as well as Aaron Too Tall Moore. Let's just get right down to the nitty and look at the finals for the rest of the ball games. Last Thursday night, the Ravens 35-34 over the Bengals. It's a shame. Joe Burrow is playing as well as anybody at the QB1 position in the league. They can't stop a nosebleed, and they go down to Baltimore. What were your thoughts on this matchup last Thursday night?
It was a great game. Another great game that came down to the end. Baltimore was able to come away with the dub. A win is a win, but Cincinnati, they gave them everything they was asking for. It was a dog fight. They didn't go in there and lay down. Great quarterback play, as you mentioned, but defense not so much. But I think you saw that on both sides. Baltimore's defense isn't playing with the level that we're used to seeing as well.
Right.
So it just happens that Baltimore made a few more plays than they did, and they were able to get the win.
They were able to get the win. Baltimore's got some issues, as you accurately stated, on defense as well. The Panthers, 20-17 over the Giants. Nothing surprising there. Didn't matter who won that ball game. The Patriots, 19-3 over Chicago, however, was surprising, and it did matter who won that ball game, particularly in Chicago at Soldier Field. Looks like Chicago has not recovered from that debacle in D.C. when they lost on the Hail Mary to the Commanders. What are your thoughts on that?
I totally agree. I think we're kind of seeing what we expected to see before the season started. Chicago did have some moments early on when they got hot and went on a streak. But, you see a lot, you learn a lot about the character of a team and how they do after a loss. Definitely a heartbreaking loss. And we're seeing now that they're not really built for it tough. They have a lot of issues that are now being exposed. I've heard news of players asking for a new quarterback change and letting the other guy get a chance. And a lot of things happening where that locker room is not really as solid as we thought. And it takes a loss to bring that out, especially consecutive losses, to really see what's really going on right there. And those issues will seem to, sprout new life. And I think that's what we're seeing unfold right before our eyes right now in Chicago.
We're going to talk a little bit more about the Chicago Bears situation a little bit later on in the show, but definitely a disappointing loss for Chicago. Arguably the worst team in the NFL coming into your home when you have playoff hopes, still alive, very much alive, and you lay an egg like that, yeah, they've got problems in Chi-Town. We'll come back and we'll talk more about that a little bit later. Buffalo 30-20 over Indianapolis. The Colts have decided they've had enough of the Joe Flacco experiment. They're going back to Anthony Richardson. What do you think about that?
Hopefully, I know Anthony Richardson is supposed to be their future. Hopefully he can get it going, get some momentum going. But if you see more of the same for him, I guess you got to look at the long run. Is he's getting snaps, he's getting plays. If you guys are invested in him or you want to see what you got in him, you got to keep him on the field. Kind of know what you got in Flacco. He's washed up. Had a great career, Super Bowl winning champ, but he should only be on the field if your main guy's hurt.
Exactly.
I don't think it does Anthony Richardson well to keep him on the bench, even after the debacle of him, quitting on the team and stuff like that. Keep him out there. Let him go through the ups and downs. I think that was just to give him a breather and get him back out there. But the Colts got to figure out that quarterback situation and stick to the plan. If Anthony Richardson is their future, win, lose, or draw, he has to learn. This is his second year. He's going to have he still may have his ups and downs, but him sitting on the bench is not going to do anybody any good. He needs to be out there.
He needs to be out there. He tapped out a couple of weeks ago. He hyperventilated. I was talking to my wife. She said he's scared, and he looked scared. He had just he threw a 350-pound lineman off of him, and he just ran out of the pocket. And I think he got a first down. And he's like, yo, get me out of here. So he's overwhelmed. He's overwhelmed, and he doesn't really know what he's looking at. So he had a 2-game break, and maybe like you said, to your point, maybe he's calmed down now and he's ready to go back at it. I agree with you. You got to stick with the guy you paid for. So he's going to be starting this week coming up against the Jets. Couldn't be a better situation for a guy that's trying to get his confidence back, because the Jets, I don't think they know what they're doing over there in New York. And then also the Chiefs beating the Broncos 16-14, blocking a potentially winning field goal attempt by Denver. What did you think about this one?
Oh yeah, that there we go. Another close call for the Chiefs, getting it done when they needed to do it, coming down to the wire.
Yeah,
I thought there was going to be a big upset, watching that game and paying attention, but the Chiefs were able to squeak out another win. So hats off to them. They're finding different ways, as you probably heard all the sports announcers saying, they're finding different ways to get it done. They're getting all the praise. It's not a lot of scrutiny when you're winning. So the fact that they're undefeated, even though they're not looking well, and it's a week by week situation to where each week it seems like that team has a chance to beat them, but they're finding out a way to get it done. So can't really complain about the Chiefs. Just like as we mentioned on previous episodes, the scariest thing about them is they're not playing their best ball and they're still winning. So when they do figure out, get to that mode where they are playing their best ball, I believe they'll be a scary team.
You look at the Saints winning over the Falcons 20-17. This was a surprise to me. But then you kind of look at the difference Derek Carr makes. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone's going to tell you the Saints are a Super Bowl team, but they're a playoff team if Derek Carr is healthy. Because that's a big win. Going to Atlanta, winning that ball game, that was pretty surprising. I didn't see that. I thought the Falcons were kind of on fire there, but they lose at home, and that was a surprising loss. We talked about Tampa Bay. Giving the 49ers a scare. Baker Mayfield is just a guy that you just feel like, man, Baker Mayfield has kind of earned respect, over the past 2 seasons. Like, hey, you play the Bucks, you better strap it up and understand you're getting ready to get into a dogfight, because if you disrespect them, you're going to lose. We welcome to the show Aaron Too Tall Moore. Aaron, what's going on, brother?
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
What's going on, man? What's going on, Tim?
I was able to I was able to sneak away a little bit. I had to come out of my car real quick. from the
Okay.
restaurant.
Okay.
He out there signing autographs in San Antonio. Tim Duncan, ladies and gentlemen.
Aaron Tutolmore in this great state of Texas in San Antonio, right down the road from where I'm situated in Austin, Texas. Great to have you on the show. We're going to hook up later on and get some barbecue this week. Barbecued pescatarian style. Anyway, so let's get back. Let's get back to our final score. So we had Pittsburgh going to DC and beating the Commanders in one of the best games on Sunday. A disappointing result for the Commanders. Aaron, you being a DC guy, what were your impressions of this matchup?
I think everybody knew it was going to be that type of game. It was going to be a fight. Literally, when you talk about the game of inches, literally that was a game of inches.
Yeah.
It came down to a game of inches on the questionable. Did we make the fourth down play? Some people say we did. Some people say we didn't. And Newton jumping off sides on 4th and 1. They wasn't going to hike it anyway. But I mean, again, we were down one of our stars and Robinson. I think if we had him, it would have put more pressure on Jaden where he didn't have his best game, but he played decent.
Right.
And I think we should have won it regardless. I think we left some things on the field. That pass to Luke McCaffrey with Jaden overthrew him. That was a walking touchdown. He overthrew him. But you look back at that game, we stood toe to toe with one of the best organizations and one of the best teams right now in the NFL. And I think it doesn't change my perspective on the Commanders. I think we still right now one of the top teams in the NFC. And once we get all our guys back and get fully healthy, this little injury bug we got is kind of catching up to us. But once we get our guys back and get healthy, I think we're going to be a wrecking force.
I think so. I think the Commanders. You lost by 1 point in a dogfight to one of the best teams in the NFL. It could have gone either way. Nothing for the Commanders to hang their head about, other than the fact that you had it. I thought you had the game won. You got to give Russell Wilson a lot of credit for balling out down the stretch, throwing that critical TD there down towards the end of the ball game. You guys got to give Russell Wilson a ton of credit. Everybody had written him off and said the guy was washed up and he was done. Sean Payton said he couldn't work with him in Denver, which I didn't think he had played that badly in Denver, but they didn't want to pay him the $39 million. So he goes to Pittsburgh as a guy that's washed up. He didn't look washed up to me. And he might be the difference maker for the Steelers. I just hated the fact they were disrespecting Russell Wilson so badly after his experience in Denver. He's not Tim Tebow. That was a horrible experiment. So don't tell me that Russell Wilson is a guy that, can't still play. And he showed it, and he's showing it right now in Pittsburgh. Now, the Vikings got into a dogfight with Jacksonville. And I'm going, okay, so how is it that the Vikings started out as a team that we were all pretty sure maybe a Super Bowl lock to a team that barely beat a backup in Mac Jones? Stu, what's your thought on that one?
I don't think nobody thought they were a Super Bowl lock. They started off hot. They started off hot. They started off good. We know we have a history on that quarterback. They have consistency. How long can they keep this up? A lot of these teams start off hot in the beginning, and then in November, December, when you want to be playing your best football, rolling into potentially a postseason, those teams start to simmer down. And a lot of the good teams, with the exception of the Chiefs, because they're undefeated, even though they're not playing their best ball right now, a lot of the good teams, they start heating up in the cold weather. So I think it's just a testament to what we say every week, man. This is a week-by-week league. the moment you take a team lightly is the moment you take a loss. It's the NFL for a reason. Any team can be beat at any given Sunday. You got to go in there and play. You can't be too high off of a win. You can't be too low off of a loss. You got to study the film, take what you can, chew the meat, spit out the bone, move on the next week. It was a dog fight. They got the win, so I can't really say too much bad about them. You're going to have those games where that team, for whatever reason, just gets up for you and everything goes against you, but they didn't score a touchdown and stuff like that, but they were able to get the win. So that's what it matters. Can you get the win in those tough games where, a team like the Cowboys will get blown out or something like that? Can you still manage to win? So I can't say anything bad about them. They were able to get the win, even though we were surprised they struggled with Jacksonville. But it's only a matter of time with a lot of these teams that are losing back to back. Guys are just hungry for a win, so you never know when you're going to get that their best shot.
So we had the Chargers take care of business in Tennessee, 27-17 over the Titans. The Eagles just blasted the Cowboys, 34-6. Last I heard, Eastern High School wants a shot at them. The Cardinals, 31-6 over the Jets, just blasted New York. The Lions in a real nail biter over the Texans. I figured Detroit would have gone down to Houston and blown them out. And they barely get out of there. I mean, Jared Goff throws 5 picks. They still win it. I mean, Detroit is they're looking like a Super Bowl team. Miami, I thought this was one of the biggest surprises of the entire weekend, losing to the Rams at SoFi Stadium. Aaron, what do you think about that?
I mean, to me, that was a toss-up.
Okay.
I think that could have went either way. To tell you the truth, I see them teams evenly. I'm not surprised about the results of that game. They was going back and forth throughout the whole game, and just in my opinion, on that night, the better team won. But if they played tomorrow night, it could have been a different result. So that's just my opinion on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I fully expected the Rams to blow the Dolphins out at SoFi. I think the Dolphins are soft, and all of a sudden the Rams couldn't even get in the end zone. And I just, whoa, that was just a big surprise. I thought they were on the real come up, and it didn't look like it at all. Let's look at our NFL headlines. And the first one, we talked about the Bears a little bit earlier, and Caleb Williams was sacked 9 times against the Patriots. He looked lost. It's kind of like Anthony Richardson. He's just one of those young quarterbacks that just doesn't seem to be catching on, and maybe he needs to just maybe take a timeout like AR did and watch it back up for a couple of weeks, because he really doesn't look good out there. DJ Moore, not happy with him. So what do the Bears do? They go out and fire their offensive coordinator, Sean Waldron. Or is there just a bigger problem in Chicago than just the OC? Stu, what do you think about that?
Most definitely. Unfortunately, a lot of these lesser organizations make these frantic moves instead of, letting things cook a little bit, letting things simmer a little bit. We just seen a similar situation in the Jets, where they just, we just find somebody to point the blame, where a lot of these issues we saw from the jump. And, even in training camp, a lot of receivers were complaining about their young quarterback, but he's young, so you got to give him some grace. And as I mentioned earlier, we're kind of seeing what that team is really made out of after consecutive losses. Right. And the fingers start, like Aaron said last week, the fingers pointing starts happening. People start blaming this person, that person, and it's just like a frantic move where you just fired the offensive coordinator. And I'm like, well, is this the same offensive coordinator when things were just going good about a couple weeks ago? A couple weeks ago, you were looking good, you were looking sharp. You lost a tough one to Washington and stuff like that. So I wouldn't have made a drastic move like that. It'd have been one thing if the Bears were like 0-8 or something like that. But we saw some positive things. They just had to figure it out. But I think some heads are on the chopping block, and people got a little frantic and maybe overreacted too soon, firing people. But I disagree with the firing of him. I think you should allow them to try to figure it out, try to work through their issues together. But hey, it's the NFL, and that's the call.
So, Aaron, your thoughts on that? The firing of offensive coordinator Shane Waldron in Chicago, was that the right move?
This gonna have to be my last take. I'm gonna have to start driving in a second, but when you have 9 sacks in a game, that's not always on the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, something's going on there with the quarterback. Now, I think he's gonna be. I think he's gonna be. I think he's gonna be okay, but I think he's struggling right now. I think them defenses are starting to catch up with him a little bit. But when you start to get up in them sacks and like 9 sacks, that's not all on the offensive line. It's not all on the receivers. Not all on on the offensive coordinator. But the quarterback gonna have to take some blame for that. Now, I don't agree with the firing. I think it's kind of like a blame game now.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
don't want to blame the quarterback because he was your first round pick. So it's like okay, so who we gonna put this on?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if it don't, now they got to see. Now, what if it doesn't turn around?
Mm-hmm.
What if he goes out there again and struggles again?
Yeah.
Where's the blame gonna go at that point? It's gonna go in my opinion, it's gonna go on the head coach at that point.
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
once you go on him, you get a new coach. Once you get a new coach, and then that's gonna put him behind the 8 ball because he got to learn a new offense over again, and then he got to start all over. So I think Chicago's in a tough situation at this point right now, and I don't see how the remainder of the season is going to get better.
Dude, you've got the Green Bay Packers coming into Soldier Field, and you fire the man now?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just don't understand that. And Caleb Williams, you're right. He's holding the ball too long. He's
Mm-hmm.
9 times means there's a lot of the blame on him too. Like, yo, dude, what's going on back there? So I don't know. I just thought it was bad timing. I mean, the Bears still, even though losing to New England is unacceptable, you don't fire your guy with a game like Green Bay for Chicago is the biggest game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, that's just like cats and dogs right there. The Packers, the Bears, like cat. And then you fired a guy. It's just bad timing. I think there's bigger issues more than likely going on in Chicago. I hate to see a man lose his job over the blame game. You know what I mean? I hate to see something like that. Now, Aaron, I know you got to go. If you get an opportunity to pop back in, please do.
Okay, I will. I talk to you guys later, man. I appreciate you guys.
Okay. All right.
All right, brother. Howdy, partner.
So let's go to our next headline, and that's the Cardinals. They drilled the Jets 31-6. And yeah, the Jets, they look pretty bad. Nobody expected that. The question I have to pose to you is, are the Cardinals a bigger threat than we realized? And can they go deep into the playoffs, Stu?
I mean, I think most definitely they're showing that they have the formula to do it. They're whooping up on teams. They're running the ball well. They're getting good play from the quarterback position and making plays downfield. Defense is playing. They're playing all 3 phases: offense, defense, special teams. They're playing good ball.
Yeah.
If they can continue this, they're going to be tough to deal with anybody. So I definitely think that they can make a run in the playoffs, and we'll see what happens then. But as far as right now, the Cardinals are a tough team, and when you see that team on your schedule, you know that you're going to have to buckle down. This is not the Cardinals that you would have we thought we were going to see this season. They really are playing great football, and I tip my hat off to them.
One thing I said about Kyler Murray is anytime you play the Cardinals, make sure you contain him. Make sure you keep him in the pocket. Do not let him get to the edge, and you have a shot to beat them. Otherwise, he's going to wreck your game plan. And that's what Kyler Murray does. And when you don't have a good game plan for him, that's just the end of it. Now, what the Jets did was kind of like another level of just bad football. I mean, they couldn't do anything on offense. I didn't know the Cardinals were a good defensive team, but they sure looked like it against the Jets. But I think Kyler Murray is the guy that you got to worry about, and they're a threat. The Cardinals are definitely a threat. Our next headline is the Cowboys, and really they're not a headline because they're just toast. But Dak is out for the year, and now you're looking at Cooper Rush, and you're familiar with Trey Lance. Trey Lance, dude, is just a lost cause back there. I think Kyle Shanahan. He identified it immediately. Once he got in camp, like, what have we done? We got to get him out of here. When you watch him on the field with the Cowboys, you understand why Frisco cut ties with Trey Lance. My question is regarding the head coach in Dallas, Mike McCarthy. Is it over for Mike McCarthy as head coach in Dallas?
I think the question is, should it be? Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. It should be over. But but Jerry has surprised us year by year by, you cutting a guy like Zeke, getting rid of Zeke and then bringing him back. Like, he gained a step when he lost, more steps than when he's less of the guy than when you got rid of him the first time.
Correct.
And you guys didn't address a lot of your issues in the offseason. It's just terribly ran organization right now from top to bottom, starting with Jerry Jones. Mike McCarthy should be gone. And as far as Trey Lance goes, we've said it time and time again. He needs to play. He needs to play. The kid needs snaps. He wasn't going to get any in Frisco, so we let him go. Like, hopefully he can find a team to where he possibly can get on the field.
Yeah.
Unless a crazy injury happens, he wasn't getting on the field here. And, things were kind of hanging in the balance with Dak. We didn't know if he was going to get it, if he's going to get an extension, injury happened, Cooper Rush, how long are they going to keep him in there? Is he the guy? Or do you say, you know what? Let's see what we got in Trey. He has to get snaps. He only played 1 year in college. That's his biggest knock on him. The kid has talent, but he has to get it in the mud. He has to get it in the mud. And what better way to do it than when you have a losing season right now and you have nothing to really show for it? You might as well let Trey get out there, take his bumps like anybody else, and you might see some positivity working out of that. But you're never going to know unless you play him consecutively.
And you make a good point about, reps. I mean, look at Anthony Richardson. He only started 13 college games at Florida. Yeah. And he's only started 12 in the NFL. He needs reps. He needs reps. He needs reps. And Trey Lance is getting none unless it's an emergency situation and you can't put him in that spot, which is where he is now. But the Cowboys, really, I think it's time to cut ties with Mike McCarthy. He's lost the locker room. I mean, when Micah Parsons makes the comments he made, publicly the other day, when you disrespect your head coach publicly, like he did to Mike McCarthy, he's lost the locker room. Yeah. I mean, you think Micah Parsons is the only one that feels that way? No, there are a number of guys on that team that feel exactly that way, and that means they're not going to play for you. Yeah. Okay? They're not going to play for you.
And the sad truth is, it's hard to gain the locker room when Jerry Jones is the owner.
How about that?
He handicaps the coaches. Coaches can't be them because the players know, hey, I'll just talk to Jerry and he'll fix it. You can't run a team like that. When you take the power out of the coach's hands, look at Dan Quinn. Great head coach. Great coach. Great coordinator. but he wasn't able to be who he could be in Dallas. And as soon as he leaves Dallas, he's the head coach and of the Washington Commanders, and they look great. And you see a difference. He got out of Dallas, he can do his thing. And Dallas is never going to get coaches of that caliber. And if they do get him, they'll handicap them to where they can't really be that effective.
That's right.
And Jerry Jones gets all the blame.
And people now are talking about Deion Sanders going to Dallas. Prime is not going to Dallas, dude.
Never.
No. Deion Sanders is not going to Dallas. I can tell you that right there. He's not that kind of guy. You're not going to tell him how to run his team. He's not going to be a puppet for anybody, unfortunately. That's what it takes to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. That's what Mike McCarthy is. He's nothing more than a puppet. The players have recognized that, and they've turned on him. Yeah. And I don't see Mike McCarthy lasting too much longer. And I feel bad for Mike because he's a good coach, but he walked into this one. It's like, Mike, you walked into this one, Mike. What did we learn about the Pittsburgh Steelers? I mean, we talked about a little bit with Aaron Tuttle. The Commanders come up 1 point short against Pittsburgh in a great game, 28-27. They came up on the losing end of that. And I think we learned a lot about the Steelers and Russell Wilson, particularly in the way that they won that ball game. I want to ask you, what did we learn about the Pittsburgh Steelers after their defeat of the Commanders last Sunday in D.C.?
I think if anybody questioned, are they a legit contender? I think they saw this week they definitely are.
Yeah.
Russ is cooking. He got some cooking lessons. He was doing his thing. He's elevated the Steelers team. The Steelers, they're playing great defense. They're playing running the ball well. Russ is able to take his shots down the field, which takes that offense to the next level. And they're a playoff. I'm just going to say it. They're a playoff team. Now, how far they go in the playoffs is up to them. If they're one and done, anything. But I believe they are a playoff team.
Yeah.
And I believe as the season progresses, they're showing that they belong. They belong in the talks of the top 5 or the top teams in the AFC. They belong in the talks of the top teams in the NFL. Pittsburgh is saying, I know Ravens get their shine. We know the Chiefs get their shine. Don't forget about us.
Yeah, and there's no question about that. I mean, it's just one of those things where, unfortunately for the Commanders, they just came up short on a game that could have gone either way. The Steelers are really a good football team. Isaiah Pacheco, running back of the Kansas City Chiefs, is possibly returning for their date with the Buffalo Bills on Sunday, arguably the best game of the weekend coming up for Week 11. And they've been doing their running backs by committee. They're not really, grinding games out on the ground like they were when Pacheco was there. Pacheco was a dog back there, and he's coming back. They're 9-0. Offense needs him. Do you think his return means that Kansas City's offense will start dominating games?
I don't know if dominating, but he's definitely a big boost to the running back group. He's kind of like a different style back than the one they got right now.
Right.
So he's faster. He's one of that quick, hit the hole real quick, explosive. So he's definitely going to give them a boost in that area.
Yeah.
And, with DeAndre Hopkins giving them, the much needed boost at the receiver position and stuff like that. They're just finding ways to win every week. I can't say anything negative about them. Finding ways to win, and that's what good teams, good, well-coached organizations do. They find ways to win, and I believe they'll continue to do that. Like I said, I don't see them going 17-0. I won't be surprised. It's possible. But I think somebody's going to get them one of these weeks. Denver was super close. That was just an amazing, miracle type play that happened at the end of that game. But I definitely believe he'll be a boost to that offense, and hopefully for them, that'll open up more things around them open up the playbook a little more, and he can get in his groove.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are doing whatever it takes to win these ball games. I definitely was shocked that Denver had them. I mean, Denver had the game won. I mean, then all of a sudden we're talking about special teams, and their special teams won the game, and that's the difference. I mean, the Chiefs are well rounded. Their offense is good, their defense is good, the special teams are good. I mean, they're good in all phases of the game, and unlike teams that are very talented but aren't operating at the clip the Chiefs are operating at, because there's a deficiency in certain parts of their game. Special teams really kill you. Bill Belichick says the most important part of your team are special teams. Yeah. That's where the games are won and lost a lot of times. You guys had an issue against the Bucs with your special. We're going to talk about that. Matter of fact, that's our next headline. I mean, Deebo Samuel's going at the long snapper and going at the field goal kicker, who had missed 3 kicks. And first of all, he had a high ankle sprain. I don't even know why he was out there. But that was a problem in that game. And Kyle Shanahan is a guy, much like Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, who are, 2 guys that were on the Redskins staff together, okay, with McVay. Special teams for these guys is not something they pay a whole lot of attention to. And I want to direct this to the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. Could this cost them, because of his lack of detail to special teams, a return trip to the Super Bowl?
We don't get it fixed. It possibly could.
Yeah.
Our kicker, this is only his 2nd year. He was a rookie last year.
Right.
He had his ups and downs and stuff like that. He was coming off an injury. He was out 2 to 3 weeks, and that was his first game back. With the Deebo situation, I think it's a lot of misinformation going on out there. A lot of people tried to make it about Deebo and the kicker.
Yeah.
If you see the footage, he was going at the long snapper, as you mentioned.
Right.
Now, I'm hearing chatter from people that was at the game, and I don't know how true this is, but allegedly, the long snapper had hit Moody, the kicker, in the head with the helmet out of anger, and Deebo kind of checked the long snapper. That's what I heard, and it makes sense to me, because it's like, why would you be mad at the long snapper? He did his job. Unless the long snapper and the kicker kind of got into it, and Deebo intervened. It's like, hey, leave Moody alone, kind of smushed him. And his beef wasn't with Moody. Actually, Moody was trying to hold the long snapper back, and you're like, why is Deebo and the long snapper going at it? But whatever that energy was, he made the final kick that we needed to win the game. So it's kind of like all is forgiven. You just gotta, get back right with that consistency, and because games are won and lost with field goals, and you left 9 points off the board. It didn't have to be that close on the scoreboard, so we didn't have to fight that hard, and we were up certain points. Then we had the game in the bag. So we, as the season progresses, and we get closer and closer to postseason, that's an issue, the kink that needs to be worked out, or it could, as you stated, have some long-term effects when we're talking about the Super Bowl.
No question about it. We're going to transition to our NFL Power 5, starting with the NFC. I've got the Lions #1 again this week. Now, I put the Eagles up at 2. I had them jump over the Commanders, as well as the Vikings over the Commanders, because they're still, 7-2, Commanders 7-3. And then the Cardinals I welcomed Arizona to the big boy table. What do you think about this Power 5?
Not mad at it. Detroit #1, and rightfully so. Philly's right up there. Commanders, Vikings, and the Cardinals, new addition to the group. I think everybody deserved the right to be there as of right now. No surprises with that list. I agree with it. I think all those teams are playing great ball right now, and nothing I can say bad about that list.
So looking at the AFC, nothing changed. I got Kansas City still #1, followed by Buffalo, Pittsburgh. I actually I got the Ravens there. I think I had the Ravens there last week as well, and then the Chargers at 5. Nothing changed. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the easiest one. Those are legit the top 5 teams in the AFC, and I believe in that order as of right now. Uh, with the Bills and the Chiefs playing, I think Pittsburgh is going to try to make a run for that second spot. But other than that, I think that is a legit easy 5 picks.
So for the league, for the entire NFL, Chiefs still number 1, followed by Detroit. I got Buffalo still at 3. I have the Steelers still there and at top 5 for the league. And then I slid the Eagles in at number 5 for the top 5 for the entire league. What do you think of that one?
I'm not mad at that either. Chiefs, got that number 1 spot, rightfully so. Detroit number 2. The Bills, Steelers, Eagles. I'm not mad at it. I think, that with that 5th spot, we'll see how the next couple of weeks happen. We might get some change ups, but I think that's a legit list right there.
I think the Eagles are a team that has silently crept back into the Super Bowl conversation. I think about 3-4 weeks ago, we had them written off for dead. Nick Sirianni is going to lose his job. And, what are we going to do with Philadelphia? But I think we forgot about Saquon Barkley because he's really been the difference maker for Philadelphia in taking a lot of pressure off of Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts now can play more free and do the Jalen Hurts kinds of things rather than having to play like he's Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow or Josh Allen. He's not any of those guys. But if you give him a little bit of help, he can kill you. And so I like the way the Eagles are playing. They're looking scary. I think once again the addition of Saquon Barkley is just making a ton of difference for Jalen Hurts and is making his life a whole lot easier. So with that being said, I want to transition to the final phase of the show as we look at the games coming up for this weekend. Starting with Thursday Night Football, we've got the Commanders and the Eagles in probably one of the 3 best games of the weekend. That's going to be tomorrow night. It's going to be in Philadelphia. This is for the NFC East, and it's going to be a dogfight. This reminds me of Eagles-Redskins. Your thoughts on this matchup?
Great game. 8:15 prime time.
Yes,
wow.
sir. Yeah.
And, with Washington coming off a close loss by 1 point, they're trying to get that win back. Philly's hungry. It's a division matchup. Both teams are looking sharp. This is going to be a great game, and I think that's what I was alluding to as far as with Philly in there in that top 5 spot. Let's see if they get this dub because Washington's trying to take it and say, no, it's our division. This is really up for the division right here. These are the 2 teams who are going to be competing to get the number 1 spot. I can't wait.
It's just like the Cowboys and 49ers back in the day when they played. Of course, this is on a smaller level, but when they played, it was like, this is for the Super Bowl. Like Steve Young was like, there's nobody else in the league. It's just us 2. Well, there's nobody else in the NFC East. It's just those 2. Okay. Yeah. And this is the fight for the division. It reminds me of the body bag game when Buddy Ryan was the head coach of the Eagles, and the Eagles knocked out like 8 out of the Redskins in that game. I mean, just blood and guts. The whole NFC East, by the way, back in the day was like that. But now we got 2 teams who are fighting for the division. It's going to be in Philadelphia. It's going to be in prime time, 8:15 on Thursday night. You couldn't ask for a better matchup. I was talking a little bit earlier in this show about the Bears. How could you fire your offensive coordinator before one of the biggest, before you play your biggest rival in the NFL, the Green Bay Packers, which is Sunday at 1:00. Stu, what are your thoughts on this matchup? Now, this is the NFL and any given Sunday. What are your thoughts?
I think it's going to be a beat down by the Packers.
Okay.
The Bears are kind of put me in the mind of what the Jets did. You know, it doesn't really make sense. And the more I think about it, the more and more it doesn't make sense. Here you have a rookie quarterback.
Right.
You've had some success this year, and you fire his coordinator because of 2 back-to-back losses. Like, you didn't know what you was getting into with a rookie quarterback.
Exactly.
He had some developmental things that we all saw in the postseason and in training camp, and we knew that, you know, we thought he was going to have a super rocky season, but he actually showed that, you know, he could play a little bit, and he had a little skid, and then you just hit the panic button and toss his coordinator into the ocean.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me. As Aaron stated earlier, now he has to learn a new playbook. Now he has to work with a new. You're just putting more and more things on his plate and more things he has to think about. With young guys, you want to put them in position to where they don't have to really think too much. They can just play. The more
Right.
they have to think, the slower they're going to be, the more they're going to hold on to the ball, the more they're going to get sacks because it's constantly thinking. Dumb it down for him so he can react and just play. And as he progresses and gets better, you can start speeding things up and making things a little more difficult and complicated, but keep things simple right now. And I think they're doing the complete opposite. So I got the Packers winning on the road in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be totally honest. I mean, I think we should go in there and win the ball game. It's Packers Bears. It's a division game. It's a huge rivalry. Aaron Rodgers has been, you know, taking calls from the Packers, even when he was in New York last year, and said, you know, hey, we still own him, Aaron. You know, I mean, there's still a lot of bad blood and animosity between these two teams. So I don't go and say hands down Green Bay. I think we should be able to go in there and take advantage of the situation. We'll see what happens. 1:00 on Sunday, Green Bay and Chicago. Jacksonville and the Lions. This should be a total beatdown by Detroit. I don't see anything short of a beatdown here. The Vikings and Titans. I mean, you know, I think Sam Darnold is starting to be the guy we thought he was. And now the Vikings are struggling in games that they shouldn't be. Defensive coordinators are looking at video and they're breaking Darnold down. Darnold's not the kind of quarterback that can overcome game plan schemes for him specifically. He never had to play like that before because he's always been a bum. So now he's just not looking as smooth as he was before, and thereby the Vikings are not looking as smooth. But they shouldn't have a problem beating Tennessee. The Tennessee Titans can give you a run for your money during the game, but I mean, come on, this is a game Minnesota should win. The Raiders and the Dolphins at 1:00, the Rams and Patriots at 1:00, Browns versus the Saints, Colts versus the Jets. should be Anthony Richardson should be able to come back out there and get a W in this game. And then the second of the 3 biggest games of the weekend, Baltimore versus Pittsburgh. And I'm surprised they got this thing at 1:00. What are your thoughts about this matchup, Stu?
That's going to be a good game. This is another good game. As you mentioned, I'm shocked too. It should definitely be a 4:00 game.
Yeah.
I think I like what I'm seeing from the Steelers, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And I think the Ravens definitely can get the win. The thing that scares me the most about the Ravens right now is their defense is not playing up to the standard that we're accustomed to seeing out of Baltimore. We know Lamar and Henry and company is going to do their thing. They're going to make their plays against a tough Steelers defense. But man, Russ has been cooking, man. He's been Chef Boyardeeing it up. And you know, going deep, hitting those bombs with that high arch, dropping it right in the bread basket.
Yeah.
You know, those signature Russ plays that we're accustomed to seeing.
Yes, sir.
He feels confident. He got some new weapons in Mike Williams. You know, I'm liking Pittsburgh. I'm liking that swag. I'm liking the vibes. They just got a close win. Both of these teams are coming off of a win by 1 point. And propels them into the segue of this tough division rivalry. And I think I'm picking Steelers at home to get it done. I don't even know if I would call it an upset at this point because both teams are seeing kind of neck and neck. But I think I'm calling for Pittsburgh to get it done at home.
The thing I would agree with you. I think what's concerning about Baltimore is, which is unlike last season and even the season before, is that their defense is not up to par.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of game where Lamar Jackson's going to have to win this ball game. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are going to have to win this ball game. Yeah. And the Steelers' defense is good enough where they can stop that from happening. It's in Pittsburgh. And I just don't like the way Baltimore. I think a trip to the Super Bowl, I think Baltimore's defense could cost them a trip to the Super Bowl. And so I'm with you. I'm going to go with the Steelers in this one, particularly with them being at home. These are not the Cincinnati Bengals. On Sunday at 4:05, we got the Falcons and the Broncos. That should be a decent matchup. It's going to be in Denver. I mean, the Broncos are gamers. Yeah. Right? I'll give them that. They're gamers. Atlanta, they are gamers. This is just two teams that are gamers. It should be a lot of fun. That's going to be in Denver at 4:05. Seattle in an NFC West matchup against the 49ers in San Francisco. Now, let me go back to the Buck game real quick, just to kind of bring out what should happen in this game. If you look at the stats, the 49ers actually should have blown the Bucks out of their stadium. They had a ton of penalties. They had a lot of mistakes on special teams, yada, yada, yada. If the 49ers go in and play clean against Seattle, they'll blow them out. As a matter of fact, they'll stop the game. So we'll see what happens. That's going to be at 4:05 on Sunday. So we'll see what happens there. Then now the other big game of the three on Sunday will be Kansas City going to Buffalo. As I mentioned earlier in the show, Isaiah Pacheco returns possibly in this game, something that Patrick Mahomes has been missing, and that's a strong running game. But Buffalo standing strong at 7-2 with Amari Cooper showing, hey, we're ready to take you on again, Patrick, and this time I'm going to get you. What do you think about this matchup?
I think this may be the Chiefs' first loss.
Okay.
This is a better team they're playing. Now, the one saving grace the Chiefs have had all year is their defense. Okay. Their defense has been stepping up to the challenge, keeping games in manageable areas to where the Chiefs can, get the win. Right. When Patrick Mahomes can make that one or two plays, then that's enough. The Chiefs defense is going to have their hands full with Buffalo. And this is a rivalry where the Chiefs have gotten the better of Buffalo. And I think that this Chiefs team, is going to struggle a little bit. And I think this is the moment for Buffalo to get the dub against the Chiefs.
I think it is. I mean, if we watch the Chiefs the way they've played over the last few weeks, they've had some head-scratching wins. Like, whoa, they just barely got out of there when you figured they would have blown that opponent out. So you got the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo now. Yeah. And if they're going to lose, this is when it's going to happen. Yeah. I do throw out the fact that with the return of Isaiah Pacheco, I also throw out the fact that let's not forget when Patrick Mahomes has to make a play or has to have the game of his life, he does. He does. That's the only thing I'm going to say right there. I mean, this game right here, the Chiefs should lose. However, ... So we'll see. We'll see. We go to Sunday Night Football. We got the Bengals and the Chargers at 8:20. And that'll be an entertaining game. It's a shame because the Bengals just can't stop the nosebleed. They just can't. But whenever Joe Burrow gets into a game like this, because the Chargers have the number one defense in the NFL, he's not going to get 30 points on the board in this one. And that therein is probably going to be the difference in games like this where he can't really do that. They're not going to win the ball game. But we'll see. It should be entertaining. Chargers at SoFi Sunday night on NBC Peacock. NBC Peacock at 8:20, and then on Monday night it's the Texans and Cowboys. And I asked the question, why? Someone is probably going to call the league office at some point this week and say, "Hey, yo, can you get that Steeler Raven game on Monday night and put these Bamas on at Sunday at 1? Can we do that?" Anyway, hey, this has been a great show, Stu. It's been a great show, and folks, I appreciate you hanging out with us and watching the show. If you came in at the end and you're like, I missed it, hey, it's all good. You can check it out on Spotify and where all major podcasts are heard. And also, if you've enjoyed the show, well, by gosh, like it and share it, man. And subscribe to the Maurice Brown Comedy Channel. And also, we're heard every Monday through Friday morning at 9 o'clock on bogradio.fm. If you want to hear the Maurice Brown Comedy Show NFL edition, or the Maurice Brown Comedy Show Comedy in the Kingdom, or interviews with directors, actors, and screenwriters, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern on bogradio.fm. Stu, we're going to get up out of here, man. This has been a great show. I'm excited for another great week of matchups as we inch closer and closer to the postseason. We're going to dip out of here, man. But any parting words for our audience before we dip out of here, Stu?
Hey, man, the only parting words I have is you can check out my website, www.antoinestewartmusic.com. I
love it. And with that, folks, we're out. May the peace of Jesus Christ be with you and your families. God bless.
God bless.